Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. The Saints finished the season on a real high note yesterday, absolutely whitewashing rival Atlanta, a 31-0 second half that propelled the Saints to a 48-17 win. Saints win 4 of 5 to finish things up and really closed solidly. But unfortunately, they did not get any of the help that they needed. Carolina just didn't score a point. And then you had losses by the Bears and the Cardinals. So Saints on the outside looking in at the playoffs. I think I want to talk about the game first and then some big picture things. But as far as the game goes, just a dominant second half by New Orleans. Defensively, offensively, everything clicked in the second half. It was a bumpy start. You let the Falcons go right down and get points. Then you answer, but Bijan Robinson comes back. And to be honest, I think a lot of us that were watching looked at that and go, Tyron may have lost a step. Because he had the angle, and I know Robinson's an explosive rookie, and Tyron's a decade into his NFL career, but your safety needs to make that play, and he wasn't able to do it. But after that, the Saints defense settled in, and they were really, really, once again, efficient, if at not times explosive on offense. Derek Carr finished the game 22 for 28, 264 yards and 4 touchdowns with a rating of 145. You look at what he did down the stretch, and it was really solid quarterback play. If you go through his last 4 games, Derek Carr threw 15 touchdowns and 1 interception. 12 touchdowns and 1 interception. So he was excellent late in the season. The only hiccup you had there was the Rams game. Yes, Carolina stinks. Yes, the Giants stink. Nice win at Tampa and a nice win over Atlanta. But it was just too little, too late. And when you look at this season, I think 2 games come to the forefront for me. It's a loss in Week 3 against Green Bay where you led 17-0 and couldn't finish the deal really before Jordan Love got moving. And you look at a loss in Houston where you lose by a score there, you missed some field goals and had some red zone woes, and that really, really hurts you. You could point to the Atlanta game as well in late November where you were just atrocious in the red zone and lost that game by 2 scores. But you just kind of ended up where we thought the Saints would end up, which is a mediocre football team that finished the game over 500, right there in the mix for an atrocious division, and didn't quite do enough. And that stings because, honestly, that's maybe the worst place to be in the NFL. You'd either rather be where Washington is or Chicago is right now, where you have some hope with draft picks and young quarterbacks, or you'd rather be where Dallas or San Francisco is, where you're just one of the best teams in the league, primed for a Super Bowl run. Instead, the Saints are not in the playoffs, are not picking early in the draft, and just kind of feel like you're in purgatory. So you can look at it 2 ways. The way that I kind of look at it, which is what I laid out right there, or you can say, you know what? Derek Carr got healthy at the end. Dennis Allen's still a really good defensive coach. The defense played well. We got a quarterback that can function at a high level when his ribs aren't shot or his shoulder doesn't hurt. Let's just run this thing back. And I think there are probably a lot of people on both sides of that. I think there are probably more that are a little disenchanted with things, but I think there are probably a sizable portion of the Saints fan base that go, hey, that was a pretty good finish. Ride into next year. It's that example I always give is Tennessee football under like Butch Jones. Because they would always get beat up in September and October. They'd lose to Florida. They'd lose to Georgia. They'd lose to Alabama. But at the end of the schedule, they got Missouri. They got Kentucky. They got Vanderbilt. They went to some middling bowl game and beat Pitt or NC State. And you go, well, you won 4 of your last 5. Got a good recruiting class coming in. I think they're turning a corner. When in reality, no, you just lost to the good teams and beat the bad teams late. And I would point to game against the Rams where you lose. Game against Detroit, you lose. Game against Jacksonville, who was good at that point in the season, and you lose. Your wins were against the Falcons, Tampa, the Giants, the Panthers, the Bears, Indianapolis, New England, the Titans. You played, in my opinion, the easiest schedule in the National Football League. One of the easiest schedules ever in this era of NFL football. And the result was not very good. That's the way I see it. So it appears Dennis Allen will be back, and I think that's a mistake. And it appears that they will just continue to full steam ahead and try to go for it again next year and restructure everybody's contract. It just feels to me like this organization is staring at reality and saying, you know what? You're not going to pry the Breeze Payton era from my cold, dead hands. We will do it with Dennis Allen. We will do it with Pete Carmichael. We will do it with Michael Thomas and Ryan Ramczyk and Cam Jordan and Demario Davis, Marshawn Lattimore, Alvin Kamara. These are our guys. And I realize that moving some of those guys is difficult and in some cases virtually impossible. I know that they restructured Marshawn Lattimore's deal to maybe open the ability to trade him to get some more assets because you feel like you're pretty good and young out there on the perimeter. We'll see what Ryan Ramczyk's future holds if he can play again. He's got to go get that knee looked at. But there are a lot of teams in the NFL that now have this disaster of a season behind them and can look towards the draft and a new quarterback and a new coach and new hope. There are a lot of teams in the NFL that are primed to try to go win a Super Bowl right now, and the Saints are somewhere in the middle of that. And it's good that it's not a miserable 3-14, I guess, because that's not very fun to sit through. The Saints made it interesting all the way up to the last week of the season. But it's bad that you're not competitive with the best teams in the sport. So we'll see what the future holds if they make a move today on the offensive side of the ball, what they can do in the NFL draft. That calendar never stops. Like, it's always NFL season in one way or another. But the Saints won't be participating in the playoffs. The other talking point from this game was the late touchdown that the Saints scored, and Arthur Smith in the final hours of his tenure in Atlanta getting into it with Dennis Allen at midfield at the postgame handshake. And here's the way I see this. Scoring a touchdown there, I don't think is the worst thing in the world. Going from 41-17 to 48-17 is not that big a deal on either side. If you're the Falcons, you got your butt kicked in the second half, the season's over, your coach is getting fired, whatever. If you're the Saints, it's not like you're trying to get style points for the BCS. Like, you can score a touchdown if that's what you want to do, but you can't do it from the victory formation. That's a little unsportsmanlike, in my opinion. Now, I'm not the biggest sportsmanship guy. I'm not the biggest, you can't run the score up or the unwritten rules and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's a football game. Go out there and play 48-17, 41-17, whatever. The manner in which the Saints did it, I don't understand. And then you heard Jameis Winston post-game say we wanted to get Jamal a touchdown. And it was my decision. They called victory. I said, no, we're getting this guy a touchdown. Cesar Ruiz backed him up. And they made that decision as a team independent of the coaches. And my question would be, why? If this was Jamal Williams' last NFL game ever, and you wanted to get him in the end zone, I get it. If Jamal Williams had some sort of Damar Hamlin situation where he had a catastrophic medical situation and had returned to the NFL and wanted to get into the end zone as some sort of a statement and a return, none of that. He's an NFL back in the middle of his career who missed a lot of time due to injury. What does one touchdown do? I don't really understand it. And this is coming from a guy, and trust me, I always feel like I need to tell you, I'm not trying to compare myself to an NFL player. Trust me. Like, obviously, we understand that. But I did. I knew that my eighth grade, I was going to play football in high school. And I was quarterback on the 8th grade team. And I told the coach in the 4th quarter we were winning. And I was like, I want to score a touchdown. It's the last time I'm ever going to play in a game. I'd like to score a touchdown. So we ran like 7 quarterback runs in a row. That's how long it took me to get in the end zone. So like, I actually had this done for me. Now, we didn't do it out of victory formation on some trick play. But like, I've been there.
But it was my last game. I wanted to score a touchdown. This is not Jamal Williams' last game. I know he missed a lot of time, but I just don't get it. And it's for some reason, NFL guys gravitate towards Jameis Winston. I just think his decision-making and the delivery of his thoughts is just so odd. Did you see the post-game interview that he gave? I just felt it was so odd. And he was so, serious. And I did not understand the thought process there with that touchdown. And I thought the manner in which the Saints scored it was a tough look. And you know that Arthur Smith knows that his hours are numbered at that point, and he's ticked off about that. I honestly don't have too much concern for Arthur Smith losing his job. When dad owns FedEx, you usually do okay in the unemployment market. So I think he'll be just fine. But he was hot, and I kind of get it based on the victory formation part of it. If the Saints just line up in the eye and toss it left and power in for a touchdown, I don't think anybody cares. You get into the kneel formation and everybody's relaxed and you hand the ball off, okay, that's probably not the best way to go about it. But I know there are plenty of y'all that are Saints fans that just love to stick it to Atlanta one way or another, and they certainly did that yesterday, dominating the Falcons, who have a lot of change coming in that organization. I think at quarterback, and certainly now, as we know, at head coach. Doesn't appear that much of that change is coming for New Orleans. So we'll see what they can do in the offseason to try to get a little bit younger and a little bit better, because 9-8. Not going to get it done. They'll be watching at home for these playoffs.
Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.